Remember when, at the end of the Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet reveal trailer, we got these logos right here, but at the end of the Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet Japanese trailer, we actually got these logos right here that have the Terastal symbol before we even knew what Terastal really was. Well, it happened again, because at the end of the Pokémon Winds and Pokémon Waves announcement trailer, we got these logos right here, but the Japanese trailer actually gave us these logos right here that have that symbol right there. So hey, I'm not so a strainer, that is the gimmick symbol, and what does it do? Let's get into it. First of all, what might its name be? We've had Mega Evolution, Z-Moves, Dynamax, and Terastal. And one of the theories surrounding the gimmicks names is that they follow numeric prefixes. So we start with Mega, we ignore Z-Moves of course, then comes Giga, we look at Gigantamax and not Dynamax of course, and then comes Terra. Some people say that Z stood for Zeta, another numeric prefix, but it wouldn't be organized that way, so let's follow what the game says. Z stands for Zenith, the highest point, the full power, your strongest move, the Z move. What they all are is really a different way to say stronger, to surpass one's limits. But I do like the prefix theory, and so we'll just cast aside Z moves, not go with Peta because it will be very much tied to Pita and they famously do not like Pokemon, and just end up going with Exa. It also sounds cooler of course, Exa is better than Peta. As for the rest of the name, I truly believe that something like Exal or Exalt or Exalite really works well, because then you could say that you're exalting your Pokemon, and to exalt something is to raise it to a higher position or a higher rank. But that's the name. What would the gimmick do? Well, before Gen 10 was even a thing, I had a whole bunch of ideas, but without knowing the actual theming of what we now know are Pokémon Winds and Pokémon Waves, it's kinda hard to create something that fits the whole concept. But we always have something to start from. In this case, it was the fact that every gimmick breaks a limit that Pokémon have. Mega Evolution gives fully evolved Pokémon an extra temporary evolution and stat boost. Z-Moves gives a Pokémon a 5th move when they can only have 4. Dynamax doubles a Pokémon's HP temporarily, as well as possibly changing their appearance, be it by form or size, and also their moves. And Terastal can change a Pokémon's typing when otherwise their typing is final. So in order to decide what a gimmick will do, you have to think about a limit and then imagine how it would be if it was broken. My idea at the time was that Pokemon could use 2 abilities because they are limited to having only 1, and I would use the Calyrex forms as a hint at this possibly happening in the future. Other members of my community like Douglas Pope and Odd Cypher actually talked about the possibility of having a Trick Room but for resistances and weaknesses, so swapping both of them for a limited time. And Oliver Art, if I'm not mistaken, also suggested like having a 7th Pokemon as an assist Pokemon like in a fighting game. As we can see, we've been talking about this for a long time already. But now, well, judging from the theming of Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves, I think it needs to be weather focused. Weather already plays a role in Pokemon, being able to activate abilities, change moves and stats, and even damage Pokemon in the battle. The limit is that only one type of weather can exist at one time. When another is used, it overrides the one that was previously active. So what if this is the limit that will be breaking? The new gimmick symbol has a rainbowy aura that surrounds the Pokeball. This to me means that only one Pokemon can be affected by the gimmick, and it can be affected only before the battle. You have to choose which Pokemon will do what. The effect is applied, like the gimmick symbol suggests, on the Pokeball and not the Pokemon. When that Pokemon enters the field, that effect is instantly activated. The Pokemon is exalted and becomes a beacon of said weather or field effect. When it leaves the field, so does the effect. It doesn't get taken down by your opponent's exalt, but both become active at the same time, creating the opportunity to neutralize an effect by having an opposing one, or even boosting it further by having 2 of the same at the same time. They would very likely create new moves that can take advantage of this, kind of like Terra Blast existed in Scarlet and Violet, and possibly even create weathers or field effects that can pair up well with all of the 18 types. It's even possible that this move is a buffed version of Weather Ball, or that we have Weather Forms, something that Cast Form has, a Pokemon that I'm pretty sure will be in Pokémon Winds and Pokémon Waves. I really believe it is undeniably something that is related to energy though, as winds and waves aren't just weather related, they are also two different ways of producing energy, wind power and wave power. Translating that into the Pokemon world, it would make sense that the overall region's sources of energy, maybe the winds, maybe the waves, maybe something else, helped Pokemon produce their own power by enhancing them before a battle began. And so, I believe that the new battle gimmick for Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves will be named Exile, Exalt, or Exalite, and that exalted Pokemon will then become beacons of weather and field effects that do not disappear when others enter the field and can even interact with each other. That is the theory, but what do you think? Do you have any other idea for a Gen 10 gimmick considering what we have seen and this symbol right here? Well, let me know in the comments down below. And now, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one. But before I go, I want to thank my YouTube members Good Old Deo, Sean Speaks and Dash Plays, and my Twitch subscribers Anubis here, Zanes222, Lazarix, The Dr. Joe, and Teixeira23 for going that extra mile. Thank you so much for all of your support.